a young woman devoted to her faith, found lifeless at the bottom of a convent well. Just the kind of tragedy that makes you stop and catch your breath. But in this case, the tragedy was, well, this is only just the beginning. We're diving deep into the baffling case of Sister Amaya, a young Catholic nun living in Kerala, India. The year is 1992, and what initially seems like, an open and shut case of suicide quickly spirals into one of the most perplexing and honestly captivating mysteries in recent Indian history. A lot of you have asked us to take a deep dive on this one, and oh boy, let me tell you, the twists and turns in this story are going to have you hooked. Okay, so let's unpack this. Local police, after what many are calling a pretty surface-level investigation, ruled Sister Amaya's death a suicide. Open and shut, right? Well, not so fast. Picture this. It's a hot day, the fridge is wide open, there are things scattered all over the kitchen, and the position of her body, well, it just didn't exactly scream despair, almost like a staged scene. Something just feels off.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head there. Right from the get-go, that suicide ruling just felt off. And not just to us on the outside looking in, but to those who knew Sister Amaya personally, those who knew her heart. This wasn't a woman battling demons, you see. Sister Amaya, she was known for her bright spirit, always a smile on her face, always ready to lend a helping hand. So to those who knew her best, the idea of her taking her own life, it wasn't just unlikely, it felt impossible. So driven by their grief and fueled by this burning need for answers, the community, they came together, they formed this action council totally dedicated to uncovering the truth.
And it's a good thing they did, because this case, it wasn't just some local whisper that faded away. This thing exploded, it grabbed global attention, and held it for decades. We're talking multiple agencies getting involved. You got conflicting reports flying back and forth, whispers of cover-ups, even straight-up accusations of interference. It's like something straight out of a crime thriller, except with real-life stakes. And here's where it gets really interesting. Enter Ada, also known as Raju, a small-time thief who claims he saw something crucial the night Sister Amaya died. This tiny detail, this seemingly insignificant detail, a petty thief witnessing something he shouldn't have, would go on to crack the case wide open.
It's incredible, isn't it? How often those seemingly insignificant details or individuals, the ones who are so easily dismissed, end up holding the key to unlocking the truth. It's a good reminder that sometimes truth can be found in the most unexpected corners, whispered from the shadows.
And speaking of unexpected, the suspects in this case are, well, let's just say you can't make this stuff up. We're talking about two priests, Father Thomas and Father Jose, and get this, another nun, Sister Sifi. Talk about scandalous.
It really makes you think, doesn't it, about the power dynamics that exist even in places we hold to such high regard. When allegations like this surface, it's a stark reminder that no institution is immune from the potential for abuse or from the need for real, honest transparency.
And just when you thought it couldn't get any wilder, investigators, in their quest for some undeniable, irrefutable proof, turned to a controversial, and some might even say unreliable, method, narcoanalysis. Now, for those unfamiliar, imagine this narcoanalysis. Some people call it truth serum. It's this controversial technique where they basically give you drugs to kind of put you in this hypnotic state. The idea is to make you more likely to spill the beans, reveal information that you might be suppressing, like a real-life truth serum, right?
Yeah, except, well, much less reliable, and ethically, there are a lot more question marks around.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
The use of narcoanalysis, it often gets slammed, criticized, because it can actually lead to false memories and confessions that you can't rely on.
Wow.
So in the case of Sister Amaya, it didn't really help. It just added another layer of complexity, another layer of controversy to an already messy case.
It's like trying to solve a puzzle. But imagine someone keeps sneaking in extra pieces or swapping them out, You've got conflicting reports, whispers of a cover-up, a mysterious witness popping up, and now you throw in these controversial scientific techniques. It's like, where do you even begin to untangle all of this? So after years of going back and forth, dead ends, new leads, the prosecution finally presented their case. They built their whole argument around what they called the scene in the kitchen theory. Remember those little details we talked about earlier? Those things that seemed kind of insignificant at first?
Yeah.
The open fridge, the stuff scattered everywhere. Well, they became the heart of the prosecution's case.
Yes, exactly. The prosecution, they wove this really compelling story, suggesting that Sister Amaya stumbled upon something scandalous in that kitchen, probably involving Father Thomas, Father Jose, and Sister Sifi. And this unexpected encounter, according to them, it led to a confrontation, maybe a struggle, and ultimately her murder.
It's like straight out of a movie, right?
Yeah.
You can almost picture it. The hushed whispers, the sudden struggle, the desperate attempt to silence her. And the prosecution, They believe the motive behind all of this drastic act, was a possible secret relationship, maybe even a love triangle, and this paralyzing fear of exposure. They argue this fear drove the suspects to silence Sister Amaya permanently. The trial, it completely grouped the nation. With every new bit of information, every testimony, it was scrutinized, debated, picked apart, and after 28 long years, a verdict was finally reached. After almost 3 decades of investigations, trials, appeals, the court finally reached a decision. Father Thomas and Sister Sephi, guilty. They were found guilty of Sister Amaya's murder. It was huge, a landmark decision, and for her family and the community, it felt like some kind of justice after years of tireless pursuit of the truth. Both Father Thomas and Sister Sephi sentenced to life imprisonment, hit with hefty fines. And Father Thomas, he got additional charges on top of it all, something about trespassing.
I can't imagine the weight of that verdict.
Oh, I know.
28 years, almost 3 decades of waiting, of wondering, clinging to that hope, that sliver of hope that the truth would come out.
It's a long time to wait.
It is.
But even with the guilty verdict, this Sister Amaya case, well, it's like a cake with just layer upon layer of complexity. Remember those loose ends we talked about?
Right.
The questions about evidence tampering, possible witness manipulation, even the church's role in all of this, the possibility that they tried to cover things up.
Yeah.
Those questions, they didn't just disappear with the verdict.
No, not at all. And both Father Thomas and Sister Sephi, they maintained their innocence throughout it all. In fact, they appealed the sentences right away, which, well, that just throws the whole thing back into the legal whirlwind, years more of battles in the courtroom. And get this, the appeals court, they actually granted them bail while they review the case.
Cutie.
It's unbelievable.
So here we are, decades after that night back in 1992, and we're still trying to unravel it all, still grappling with the echoes of Sister Amaya's story. Did justice really prevail? Or is there more to uncover, more to this story that remains hidden? Will this verdict actually stick? Or will there be another twist, another unexpected turn in a case that's already full of them? It makes you think, doesn't it?
It really does.
The Sister Amaya case is not just some true crime story that you listen to and forget about. It's a potent reminder of the power dynamics that shape our world, the intricate dance between faith and the relentless, sometimes decades-long pursuit of justice. It challenges us, all of us, to open our eyes to uncomfortable truths, to question those in power, and to never, ever stop seeking answers, no matter how long it takes, no matter how difficult that journey may be. And if you're anything like us, if this deep dive has left you wanting more, we encourage you to keep digging. There's a wealth of information out there, articles, documentaries, even books dedicated to unraveling this case. Because the quest for understanding, well, that's a journey best taken together.